Okay, so hi everybody. I'm back, sort of. This is going to be a little bit, I would say, informal, right? So here's what happened. So I started the initial live stream. We're going to test this out. Again, we're just testing this. The technology is working and everything. But I wanted to open with a welcome and hi and thank you. Now, if you're watching this right now live, then you're going to probably, you'll be able to get in and chat and so on. But just kind of right off the top, I set this live stream to a public type of live stream and not an unlisted type. So again, this is now out there to anybody who's browsing around YouTube. So this, I mean, if you are in the class, you get a chance to log in and see me go and we'll talk about some things and you can get some help and so on. But I wanted to make sure that you're seeing everything. So what I'm going to do is, of course, this is being recorded, so you'll be able to rewatch this another time. But quite frankly, right now, since this is the very first one we're doing, we need to kind of work out a few issues, if there are any at all, right? So just bear with me on this as we kind of proceed here. Now, a couple things right away. If I look down, I'm actually looking at a screen below me right here. This is the web browser screen, and it's got, the chat section, the chat sessions going on for YouTube. I've also got a couple of browsers open right here. So I'm going to actually just kind of click over here to Canvas and over here to Outlook as well to see if anyone has chimed in and has questions or something. Now, I said that what I would do in this live stream is provide an extension of my office hours, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So if you're watching this, what this is all about, especially for online students, it's an extension of my office hours time, which I always do, basically every Monday and Wednesday from 2:45 to 3:30 p.m. right there at the college in the classroom. But what I'm doing now is providing the same kind of office hours assistance to anyone, anywhere. So if you are a current student and you have an online class, you register for my online class, this kind of takes the place of those office hours a little bit. So I've got a few things to talk about. I just wanted to start that right away. So if you're watching this, please feel free again to stay here on the channel, subscribe to the channel, and then click the notification bell because we have an opportunity to do this every week. We're going to do this every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. I don't expect a lot of visitors for this first live stream because, again, this is all about testing the technology and making sure that it's going to work and that we can actually get through some content that's sensible and assistant and helps you out a lot. I think what I'm going to do first is just remind everybody that because of this class, because primarily, again, this is intended for online students, but again, face-to-face students, you're welcome too. If you have any sort of comments or concerns, we changed this from Thursday night to Wednesday night for this reason. So for example, I've got, as you can see here, I've got the applications open on another screen. If you want to log in, I've got them both open here, AutoCAD and Revit. If you want to send me a file that maybe you have some difficulty with or something, you can email that to me during the live chat session, okay? And then I can go over some things. So I'll open the file, I'll download it, I'll open it, and then we'll see it here on the screen. And if there are any, conditions or concerns you might have, any questions, I can answer them here in the live stream. So what I'm going to do right now is just kind of throw a couple of concepts at you that we have talked about here in the first couple of days, just to emphasize some stuff. I've got a cup of coffee, of course, also. Again, this is kind of informal, guys. So this is my house. This is upstairs at my house. And I think it's really helpful to have some time to do this, right? To take some time away to help you guys out. When you get into your homework and you get into your group project work, where you're doing a lot more content in the course, my expectation is that these live streams will probably be more helpful to you because, then I'm there for you to answer questions. Right now, it's probably not as critical to anyone's success just because we've just started the class. We've just started working in daily exercises. We've done 3 of them now. And so I think most people are probably pretty satisfied with the idea that so far the things that we've looked at either on Canvas or in the classroom are probably, up and running. They're probably pretty good. So I've seen some really good scores. You guys are doing a great job getting stuff in. So keep that work up. Okay. But again, I'm going to check email back and forth a couple of times here. Just make sure that if you do have any questions, guys, just let me know. All right. And you can send me an email to my normal email address, or just, log into Canvas and check it out too. So probably if I don't get a lot of visitors for this first one, again, it's no big deal because this is recorded. And so you can watch it later. But I will probably just cover some concepts, and then we will maybe make this live stream a little more brief. So we'll maybe cap it at like a half an hour. But if people do check in from time to time, we'll stop. We'll take a look at what's going on. We'll answer questions and so on. So I think what I want to do first is I want to open up something. I'm going to get going here in AutoCAD a little bit. And I've got some student files open here, and I don't really want to show a lot of student files specifically. So what I'm going to do is start a new one. So I'm going to go up here and start a new file. And then from there, just select the AutoCAD normal template here, right? So I covered this a little bit in class, and I want to talk about this a little bit in this session right now. One of the things that you guys are going to be faced with when you start any file, okay, is first of all, as we just did, select the right template. But I've always talked about house cleaning, and all this really is that every single time you do this, head up here to, in AutoCAD, you head up here to the View tab, and then you see this view cube right here. That's kind of our enemy because we're only going to be drafting 2D here in AutoCAD, right? So don't ever show the view cube. So just turn this off, and when it's off, you won't see it anymore. You can toggle it back on if you are drafting in 3D, but just turn it off for what we're doing in the classroom. Go back to the Home tab and just let that sit. Now, next type in units, because we want to set our units to something that's certainly more beneficial to us. For architectural discipline, of course, those units need to be set to architectural. Again, I've covered this in the classroom, but I just want to go over it a couple more times. Now today's daily exercise in AutoCAD was all about modification tools. And so if you're watching this another time, say after Wednesday, the 2nd of October, you're going to go back and think, yeah, that was about modification tools. So hopefully a lot of you in the online class, you're still working on this. Right now, you're getting this stuff in. And if you have any questions, let me know. But the modification tools are all up here. I didn't cover any of them that are in this drop-down area below, okay? There are some that are in here that are kind of nice. They're not as used. That's actually why they're out of the way. It's just the way that the people at Autodesk have done this. And I think in the face-to-face classes, please remember that one of the things we covered is the explode tool and the offset tool. We covered those a little bit later on in the class. I just want to make sure that you guys remember that some objects do need to be exploded before other modification commands are actually done. So just remember that. It's really actually quite beneficial. So with that said, we can go over some stuff. We can talk about this. I think what I'd like to do too is point out that, and I haven't covered this yet, but I'm going to add a little bit of content to this, that there are some of these tools that have other options. Like the circle has an option in here where you can draw circles using different methods, like 2-point or 3-point and tangent and so on. The center and radius option is the one that comes up from, by default. So, 99% of the time, we're just going to stick to that. Okay, so there's really not a lot of challenge here. But you're going to see this in other ways too. So the rectangle shape also has a polygon. Let me show you what that means. Now, if I draw a polygon, for example, all it's really doing is drawing another shape. And right now, it might be a little difficult to read, but the number of sides says 4, but I can change that to 6 and click enter, and then inscribed in circle, that's fine. And I can just draw a polygon, like this rotated hexagon or something. So what I would encourage you all to do is to, on your own time, maybe for a few minutes, just explore some of these other drawing options and so on. There's some other things embedded in here, like the ellipse tool. There's ways to draw the ellipse. The center and radius version kind of just draws a thing like this. You click a couple of times, a third time, just to create an ellipse of some random size. And then, because properties are open, you click on it, you've got some numbers in here you can modify. So again, these are all pretty basic things, but it's not anything that we've had time in classroom to really explore. They're not terribly useful for a lot of the content for the course. In the textbook and the homework, yeah, you're going to probably use some of this, but in the group project work, not as much. By the way, I am going to talk a little bit about the group selections and so on here in just a second. That was something we went through today in the face-to-face class, and I have not yet grouped you guys up in the online classes yet. I'm going to do that, tonight before I go to sleep. So I'm going to click escape to cancel this. So basically what I want to show you here is that, again, these modification tools work in a lot of different ways. For instance, trim has an extend function as well embedded into it because it's very similar to trim. It just extends out geometry instead of cuts it off. Things like that. We didn't really cover this too much in class, and I didn't cover this a whole lot in the online class either. There's a chamfer tool embedded here, blend curves command as well. Sorry about the tooltip getting in front of everything. But the bottom line is that you'll find that some of these modification tools and drawing tools have alternate versions, right? And they're embedded with the original tool. So check that out and make sure that you kind of at least have some knowledge or awareness of where those things are. Okay, so moving on a little bit, we will be covering other topics in the class later on in both the AutoCAD and the Revit classes, of course, and more of the ribbon will be discussed later on. But it's, again, daily exercises is all the time we have in those days. And of course, you guys in online, same thing. We only have so much time that I can record a video, and it'll get you pretty much where you need to be for a lot of the class. So basically the same is true in Revit. I mean, I'm going to just start a new file here using the architectural template and click OK. Again, we've explored some things here, not today in the face-to-face class, and you guys online as well. You guys were working with doors and windows, adding some doors and windows. And just know that, again, I'm going to draw or place a simple wall here, and then we'll zoom in. And as you can see, if I start adding things like doors, hosted doors or whatever, we went through the process of selecting and then flipping and then using temporary dimensions and permanent dimensions and all that. What I also want to sort of extend to you is an additional bit of content. There's something about temporary dimensions that you can change, and it will display the temporary dimensions slightly differently. I want to show you that right now. So again, in case you're watching this recorded later on, you can see this and go, oh, that's odd. I didn't know that existed, because we have a little more time. What you need to do is go up to the Manage tab in the Revit interface, and then from the Manage tab, go to Additional Settings. And then temporary dimensions are an option here in this additional settings. Now, when you do this, it brings up another dialog box, and you can see kind of how this is arranged. Temporary dimensions measure from walls, center lines, or center of core. Effectively, all this is some options. Where do the temporary dimensions come from initially? Now, I kind of talked with some of you in class today about this and noted that, yeah, this is a place to get to. We didn't talk about the Manage tab, but those temporary dimensions are a way to move geometry around in your project, turning them either into permanent dimensions or leaving them as temporary. That's the best way to manage that stuff. But the Manage tab itself will show you a variety of other options. So for instance, doors and windows, I can say I can change this to openings, right? And then once again, if we click on the door, now you can see that there's some temporary dimensions that actually just show you the extension lines go to the opening or the rough opening of the wall geometry. I'm going to make a change back, right? I don't want to leave it that way. I just wanted to show you that though, because there are times where some of that might be a little bit frustrating to go through that process and say, well, temporary dimensions are great, but why are we, they're not going where I want them to. So anyway, that's where you find some of that info. And once again, you click on the door, and now all we see is the temporary dimension to just to the door center point or the center line of the door opening. So again, there's some expanded knowledge here. I mean, I would encourage you guys to mess around with this stuff. Maybe start a project file using a very basic template and just mess around with it and play around with it like another sandbox file. I don't expect you to use, go crazy with this and use a lot of your own time, because this time is valuable, right? But maybe just for 5 to 10 minutes and try something out and see how that works. For everybody in the Draft 3 class, this is actually way more important to do this. Now, am I pointing? No, I should be pointing this way. I got to get used to this, guys. This is more important over here because you're creating your own project and you're imparting a lot of your own creative thinking and effort and energy into a project that may be much more impactful if some of these commands, some of these modifications, again, I'm trying to point to the right direction here, if some of these modifications were actually employed properly, right? If you had a chance to make your work session in Revit a little shorter, or your work session in AutoCAD a little shorter because you got into it a little bit more. So I'd encourage you guys to really explore. You know, take some time, take a few extra minutes here or there to do that stuff. There's other videos on YouTube that are awesome. Lynda.com is a place to go as well. And I talk to people about this. If you have a King County library card, you have access to lynda.com courses at no charge. Otherwise, you have to pay for this thing as a subscription. So I'm just letting you know that this is an option out there for you. So go to kcls.org and either sign up for a library card. I don't know if there's a fee anymore. I've had a library card since I was just a person about that big. But the point is that it's there for you. It's a resource, an additional resource. And I've checked my work against some of the courses on lynda.com here and there too. I think they're fun. I think they're interesting to watch. Any supplemental, any extra work that you guys can do to make this experience better is great, and I encourage that. Okay, so check it out. You know, again, get a library card, do some extra work from YouTube and so on. There's some people that are very, very helpful. I'm not trying to take their place at all. I'm just adding this additional YouTube content in the form of instructional videos plus live stream stuff just to be out there and be available to you guys. Okay. Now, okay. So what I think I'm going to do next is, let's see, we're about, I don't know, it's like 7:30 now or something, 7:25. I think what I'd like to do next is just, God, I don't even know what to do next. Let's go back to AutoCAD for a second. So a couple things coming up pretty soon. Again, tonight I'm going to create all the groups and sort them all out. And then I just want to kind of put this out there. Everybody in the online class, okay, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this recorded, I don't really care. The most important thing to do as soon as you can is, for anybody, face-to-face or online, is to get the contact information from your other group members. It's really important that you reach out to each other as soon as you can, because it's going to really help you out to try to kind of create or divide up your work habits, your workflow, and so on. And I think it's here's the other thing. Group projects have that group dynamic, right? So sometimes what happens is that you get going in a group project, everything seems to be working out great, and then you find a few problems. Something happens and some of the group members may not be contributing as much as you thought they should or whatever. And I'm not going to police that. I'm going to basically use this platform right now to tell you I'm not going to get in the way of your group getting your work done. I will monitor it, of course, and if there's really a real problem, I should say, yes, I'll step in and I'll help take care of it. But you guys have an opportunity here to learn as a group, which is really critical. Any organization you're going to work for is going to be a group of people, sometimes a really big group of people, right? You're going to have to learn everyone's name. You're going to have to go to a lot of meetings. You're going to have to go to job sites and do some measuring. You're going to have to have unique phone calls and emails with all kinds of people, like plan reviewers and architects, designers, engineers, clients, construction managers, and so on. And it's really helpful to get used to the idea that group or collaborative work is a regular part of this industry. So I put the group project in to help simulate that and to help bring people along. And so the idea is to not be isolated at all in an online environment, or to be isolated in a face-to-face environment in the classroom. The idea is to do some of your own work and then learn from each other and then work with each other is the final extension of that. So the group project is all about collaborative work. So the theory behind this, as I just mentioned, is that not only do you get the collaborative work out of this, and you've probably done a lot of group project work before, you know all about group dynamics, but it's also that it actually makes your own individual part of the project a little bit shorter and a little easier to understand. So you can get a lot more work done with these group members, okay? It sometimes doesn't always work the way you think it should work. I'm just saying, right? It doesn't always work. There are times, like I said, that there's problems. Some people get frustrated because someone of their three of them is maybe not pulling their own weight. You have to stay in touch with each other, and you need to know that I support your group in everything you're doing, but you have to kind of develop your own method and your own science behind maintaining that kind of contact with everybody, and then holding each other accountable for all of the work you're doing. Now, in the AutoCAD class, very briefly, and you'll see this in the assignments that are actually this way, if I'm looking at the screen. What this is, it's you're copying work that I've already generated. So it's a bungalow plan. It's a single-story plan. It's about a 100-year-old house plan, okay? And what you're doing is you are creating the floor plan and 2 exterior elevations. All of the geometry is already drawn in a PDF form, and all you need to do is create a new AutoCAD file and basically copy what you see. And there's a lot of how-to, and there's a lot of other supplementary pages that go along with this to help you, to show you where everything needs to go and how the size and angles and all that kind of stuff. So it's already there for you. AutoCAD is a great platform for learning this kind of work. First of all, you see a drawing, and then you apply all the skills you have out in the real world, and you produce a result, a finished usable result. And so AutoCAD's great for that. Now, with the Revit classes, there's a little difference here. You're not copying anything you see. In this case, you're actually applying some creative work. You're taking a commercial building, a small commercial building, like a strip mall sized building, and you're doing a tenant improvement, or TI in the industry, and you're taking out all of the existing, small commercial spaces or units you had in there, and you're creating one large one, okay? But your group has to decide what kind of business it's going to be and kind of tell a story. Like, what are you guys doing? Is it a restaurant or bookstore, or are there other kinds of bits of information that are going to go along with that? What do you need inside? Do you need restrooms? Do you need a kitchen? Do you need storage areas? Do you need an office? All of that kind of stuff. That's what the Revit group is going to be doing. So at some point, you're going to get into it and go, well, what's the first step? Now remember, whether you're in AutoCAD or in the Revit class, the first step is always, as I just mentioned, reach out to your other group members. Get their contact information, figure out what is their general schedule every week, so you can try to meet either in person maybe, or just shoot emails back and forth, or do whatever, or use Canvas as your communication platform. That works too. And then work out a system, which is going to be required. You need to send that system back to me in the form of like a kind of like a soft contract. The idea is that you're going to explain to me how your organization is going to run and so on, so we can all hold each other accountable. And then from there, you begin the project either in AutoCAD or Revit. So group project work is weird. Okay, it's tough. Sometimes it's really challenging, but it is something that everyone has to do. So we're going to do it in this classroom, and you'll have fun with it. It's actually the most fun thing to do in the class. Face-to-face classes, you guys are always just up and out of your chair and moving around and solving problems and having, I think it looks like a very dynamic, good time. So even in an online class, this will also happen, and you'll find a way to kind of simulate that same sense of collaborative work. Okay. Coffee, nectar of the gods. It's getting cold though, so, even though it's warm up here in my house. This is upstairs in my house, so this is where all my stuff is. Okay. Okay, so what I'll do is I'm not seeing any questions come in, any comments come in. Let me check over here and see if there's any input from Outlook or anything. So I don't see anything right now, which means that either, again, there's not that many people logging in right now, which is cool. We'll do this again next week, of course. or maybe you're going to watch this afterwards and some of the content I'm expressing here, you get some questions generated. That's cool. It's likely going to pick up in intensity as the course goes on because you're doing more and more and more work. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this short right now. We're into it for, about, what am I looking at here? We're into it for about a half an hour. I don't want to go too long and just flap my gums. I want to stay, relevant to what we're doing. I'm going to close with this basic thought. And again, please apply this at your own discretion for daily exercises or your homework or your group project work. And especially for draft 3, you kind of need to get into this as soon as you possibly can. At all times, regardless, right? If you find that you're at a stopping point where you're up to some sort of limit of understanding of what's in the book or what I'm talking about online, you got to let me know right away. Do not hesitate. Don't procrastinate, because we have a pace in this class that is regular and steady, but the quantity and difficulty of the work will keep going up, right? So if it's going to keep rising, you need to get to me as soon as you possibly can. And of course, for the most part, I'm talking to anybody in the online courses because I can see everybody in the face-to-face classes every Monday and Wednesday, but I don't get a chance to really talk with people online that often. So I'm doing these live streams to give you guys a chance to come talk to me, right? And share your concerns and get some questions answered. The main takeaway from here is if you are at a stopping point or you do have something that is just, again, too confusing, you'd rather not make a mistake, which is okay to make, by the way, right? It's okay to make mistakes because you can always fix them. But if you do send me those emails and you attach a file, that's the most important thing. Attach your file to your email before you submit it on Canvas for grading. If you do, then I can take a look at it free of charge, right? And then provide some kind of feedback. And we can work through the solution, because I love that part. That's an awesome thing for me to do, is just to work with you guys and figure this out. I kind of don't think of myself as like a traditional teacher or instructor in that way. I still, in my mind, I'm still in kind of student mode some of the time. So I'm always looking for new or interesting ways of doing the same thing and solving the same kind of problem. So maybe some of you actually come up with a solution that I didn't think of before that actually makes a whole lot more sense. And, then we'll talk about it. We'll get it in the classroom. So, but give me that information as soon as you can. Okay. Don't hesitate. It's really just for your benefit and for mine too. Right. So that'll do it for tonight. I want to encourage you guys to log in next time on Wednesday again at 7 p.m. I'll make this public or unlisted or whatever it happens to be. We need to kind of figure this out. But most important thing is, participate, be a part of this. I'm here for you. This is really your show. You're going to drive the show. You're going to, direct me where I need to go to help you guys out. And it won't just be me talking, hopefully next time, right? So I'm going to stop here. Thanks for watching. Again, subscribe, click the notification bell on Draft Right Live. That's where this live stream supposedly went. Have a good weekend. We'll see you on Monday for the face-to-face class. Talk to me. Again, for online students, we'll talk to you on Monday. Again, have an awesome weekend. Stay dry and keep that mouse moving. Okay, bye now.